Mr. President, thank you so much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we start with leadership, can you tell us a little bit about where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in a seaside resort called the Strand.
Yeah.
It's about 40 minutes outside Cape Town. So you drive from the airport in Somerset West and you get into the Strand. And that's where I grew up, in a little shack with my mom, who was a shebeen queen. So my mom, my sister, and her boyfriend and her little son, we shared that little place.
And what was your dream career when you grew up?
So remember, now we're talking about late 50s, early 60s. If you were black in the country, you didn't have high aspirations. You thought about, I can become a clerk, I can become a teacher, and I can become a policeman. Now, they used to come to the schools to check us out because I went to a colored education school. So they used to come and check us out, and so they saw that he's got a flat foot, he must be a policeman. But I dreamt of becoming a teacher.
A teacher?
A teacher.
Okay, so where did you start your teaching career?
My teaching career started in 1970 at a place called Alice, near the University of Fort Hare. In fact, the school was a junior secondary school, which was the practicing school for students at Fort Hare doing a teacher's course. So I got to teach there, teach Afrikaans, and to teach social studies. And then in charge of the school's sports program.
And then how did you get into sports from teaching?
I grew up in the Strand where there was a lot of sport. In the colored community, sport is very big. In the little town that I was in, we had more than 8 rugby clubs. And each rugby club had its B division and C division. So I played for a team called Ex-Scholars, because all those who matriculated at Gordon High would then go into this team. Most of the guys were into sport. We played golf because right across the road from where I stayed was a golf course then. It had now moved to Somerset West. But before that it was in the Strand. And there were guys who would on Saturday cycle, and we were all cycling. And we would all go out to the mountains and climb mountain climbing. So it was just part of our make-up sport. And that's where it started. But when my biology teacher asked me to look after the rugby team, because we were outside Cape Town and we were the only high school. So to travel into Cape Town to play those big schools there in Bishop Labers and all those places was a bit tough. So we were isolated. So he came in and said, "Hey man, just do something about the rugby in the school. Get a team and go play." And so on. So I started organizing that team. And when I left school, I did the under-19. We used to go and hire a truck, and we'd go and play in all these little towns and so on. Bredasdorp and Grabouw and all those places around in the Western Cape there.
So you became a professional coach?
Not really a coach, just an organizer. You get the under-19s. And you say, "Guys, come on, let's hire a truck and let's go and play a game at Genadendal." We loved going to Genadendal because it was a girls' school with accommodation. So we used to know that, okay, we're going to play a game and then the girls will be there all shouting at us and so on and so on. So it was, for me, it was something natural. It never came to me as, "Hey, you're now an administrator." It is just that I could run around, go to the guy with the truck. He used to cart fruit from the Western Cape into Joburg and so on. So it is these 2 big trucks. Weekends they would stand around and say, "We want the truck, we'll pay you whatever we can pay you. Take us to that place, we want to go and play some rugby there." So that's how I got into sort of organizing and so on. But seriously, it was only when I started teaching at this Jabavu school where I started getting involved in community clubs. And in those days, you must remember, a teacher knew everything. He was the clever man. And so on.
So you went from teaching in fact, you went from coaching into teaching, and then from teaching into sports. Is that correct?
But it's all seamless.
Yeah.
You know, you play the sport, you organize, you go out and teach, you organize school sport, and you get involved in the community sport, and you play for a rugby team in the community. So it was all seamless, you know. It just kept me in sport. Even at Lovedale College for Teachers, I was in the rugby team and I was in athletics. I was just in sport all the time.
And I believe you went through a number of codes. Is that correct?
As an administrator, yes. I went in my later years. Remember, rugby was my first love. And became a manager of the Springbok team at some point. And became president during the unification process. I became president of swimming. And after that period, I went into triathlon before I came here as president of SASCOC. But even before that, before coming to Joburg, you know, I used to in the Eastern Cape, you know, part of swimming, border, council of sport, border swimming, border, everything that kept me in sport. The National Sports Council that became a forerunner for SASCOC. We started that with a number of guys in sport, and and today here it is. It's called SASCOC.
So was there a turning point in your career where you could have gone a different direction, but you decided to take a certain path?
Yes, definitely. You know, I remember I went to a colored school, being African, but you see the area which we lived in, it was a mixed African and colored, a whole lot staying together. So I went to this high school, and when I matriculated in 66, I said I want to go to a college. We all applied with another group of learners. We all applied to a college in Oudtshoorn, which was for colored teachers. And my application came back and said, no, you're African. So I went to the principal and I said, oh, come on, sir. I've been here at this school since primary school. I've been in a colored school and I've been here. What's the problem? He said, okay, let me find out. So I wrote to them and said, no, Gideon was, The response came back, no, he's African, he must go to Forte. That's where we train African teachers. Forte University, he must go there. So that was too late to make those arrangements. So that to me was really a turning point, because if I had gone the route of being a colored teacher and not an African teacher, maybe my career would never have ended up like here.
And can you tell us who or what have been your sources of inspiration as you grew up?
As I grew up, teachers. We had a very good set of teachers in the primary school. And all of them were like mentors. All of them were like role models. I remember the guy who played, Mr. Erasmus, played center for a local club called St. George's. The man was a master. And all of us just said, that's how I want to play my rugby. Others were good in music. Others were just like fathers, you know. If you come late, they said, you know, that's not a good thing to do in life, to be late. And the other one was a leader in the boys' brigade. I was in the boys' brigade. And, you know, they were so close to us, and you never wanted to let them down. Then I went to high school. High school with a very good biology teacher. We had very good physio teachers. In those days, teachers were the people to guide, you know. And when I got to Lovedale, the college now, there were about three lecturers, Mr. Duplessis, and a Mr. van der Merwe, and a Mr. van Wyk. Real guys, you know, who loved their students. And so when I look around these days, you know, you just say that we miss that, because those are the guys. You know, this Duplessis guy had the way he dressed. It's a white shirt, tie, knee, and all my years of teaching, that was my my picture, that man. And I also dressed like that. And you will ask any of my pupils, my learners that I taught, they will say that man, on a Friday, there were about 7, 8 shirts on the washing line, because I stayed in the cottage and I had to do my own washing and own cooking. They would say that, you just can't believe this man, he comes out of the class on Friday, he washes his things, and when we come on Saturday for matches at the school, it's all on the washing line.
So I assume that was hand washing?
Hand washing, no machines. Those early 70s, where would you afford a poor teacher with a salary of 62 rand 50 cents
A week?
a month?
Okay.
Remember, in those days, the ranking was the white teacher gets a top salary, then the Indian teacher, then the colored teacher, then the African teacher. So we were at the lower rank of the ladder in terms of salaries. But, you had to take that little bit there and a little bit there and save. And I started saving from that small amount.
So, President, can you share with us what is driving you today?
Look, today, what I really live for is youth development. In me, there is something that says, if we don't look after the youth, we are going to have problems. We have to look after the youth, and we have to inspire them so that they want to be better people. I mean, if I read about a young girl coming from a poor family, getting 14 million in her account, and not knowing that I must look after this until somebody asks me about this money. No, she spends 800,000 of that money that is not hers. Just like that. So for me, that drives me. So you'll see even my programs down in East London, it's about young people. Teach them swimming, teach them chess, teach them table tennis, teach them computers. So that I've got 10 schools that I look after, and that's my drive. We have to find a way in which we help young people.
So let's talk about leadership. What does the future of leadership mean to you?
It means a lot. It means a lot. A country or a citizenship or whatever you want to call it is going to fall or stand by its leaders. You just have to think about good leadership, and you'll know that that is what we require. And we need to drive in that particular direction, that leaders can be made. Some are born, but others are made. How are they made? Because they are in the company of other good leaders. And that's what we need to do. I, in sport, must inspire young people. And I can see them. When I go out into the villages or to the township and say, hey, Mr. Sam, and they all come around me, I must inspire them and say, you also can become a president. You also can become a top player. You also can become a top administrator. Leadership in all respects, whether it's at school level, whether it's in education, whether it's in sport, whether it's in the church, whether it's in just society, we have to breed leaders. For every 10 citizens, we must have one good leader.
So, President, when you look back at your own journey, which quality do you consider most important for future leaders?
You must be honest. You have to deal with honesty. Be yourself. That thing that says, I am who I am, that is critical for all leaders going forward. You can't today be this and tomorrow be that and today be this and tomorrow be that. No. You have to be a leader that is always on the right track, knowing who he is and going in a particular direction to achieve a goal. I mean, all of us, if you think about the late Madiba and you read about him, you can see the man was goal-directed. Nothing put him down. 27 years incarceration did not put him down. He came out and was still able to, because he knew who he was. Anybody who doesn't know who he is cannot really lead, because that's going to be problematic.
So, President, when you speak to students, when you speak to the next generation, what do you tell them they should focus on for future-proofing their career?
Have to be education. You have to be educated to know what you are doing and where you're going to be. Because if you look at it, go to any country. If you go to Japan, all those Japanese young people are getting the best education, because to stand in a queue and you are not that well educated, you are at the back of the queue. Go to the Chinese, they work hard. Go to Korea, they work hard. And I think that to me is what young people must understand, that a good education, working hard, and always be forward-looking is what is going to make our young people the leaders that we want to see in future.
Now, looking at technology, President, which tools of technology would you recommend future leaders should learn, should master, should really wrap their head around?
You know, I've been looking at these smartphones, and I'm constantly saying to myself, I've got a youngster in East London now who's working on these kind of things. And I said to him, do you know what? The day we can find a mechanism of making solar power to drive our cell phones, listen to what will happen. You will then be, that's the first thing, you then be able to give that to every child, even in the rural area. Yes, they've got them now, but what is their problem? Where there is no electricity, they battle. Number two, as a country, we have to, with a smartphone, have to think about how we are going to deal with this issue of data. I just came across a Canadian who came out here for kickboxing. He lives in the remotest area of Canada. There's no coach. How does he get his coaching? Through YouTube. And he came here and he fought here in a team of Canadians. And I said to him, I can't believe, he says, if you can educate yourself with this kind of device. But in our case, in South Africa, we need to make sure that it is viable in the sense that there's electricity for even for the rural dweller. And number two, the data is not that expensive, because that to me is what is important. You have to make sure that I go in the mornings when I'm in East London, I go on a run. And I see all these minibus taxis bringing the children to high school close to where I live. And all we hear in this Kumbi, it's huge sound. And I ask myself, you know what? If only each child in that Kumbi coming to school could have a device. And this device says maths, or listen to some of these leaders, Mahatma Gandhi, all these great leaders that we've had. And that, to me, would be far more beneficial than this big noise of music that, going through the ears and damaging the ears also in the process. So it is critical that we understand that we have to come up with a system, a smartphone that will be educational. There should be no reason for a child to fail when all the information can be transmitted to the child via smartphone or whatever phone there.
So self-learning.
Self-learning. We have to, because just think about it. In the days when we were in lower grades in school, they taught us the rules of the road. At night, wear something white so that they can pick you up. The cars can pick you up in terms of seeing you. Number two, don't cross anywhere You have to cross it where there's a zebra. And when you're there, look left, look right, look left again. Those are basic things. What do you see now? They crisscross roads with a cell phone on the ear, and you ask yourself, but isn't there a system in which we can teach basics? Because it's all about teaching the basics. That's how you are going to get the great leaders. Getting people to be taught at quite an early age. When they miss out on these things, that's where we create problems. You see now what's happening. People are talking about teachers being assaulted by kids, and kids are being assaulted by teachers. You're going nowhere with that kind of system. We have to find a way in which to say that the education, even if you come from a broken home, but your smartphone or your cell phone, you can switch it on and somebody will teach you something about it. Go and Google and say, what do I do if I want to open a bank account? What do I do? It should be available now, because that is what is going to help education. And education leads to good leadership. You know, good leaders are people who have some education that can back them up when they stand in front of people. So when I stand in front of youth, one, I said, guys, you have to be educated. Number two, you have to make sure you know who you are. And number three, you need to know where you're going. Because if you don't know where you're going to get pregnant along the way, because you never worked out in your mind that, I can't have unsafe sex because it will make me pregnant. But if you sit at home and you know that these are the things that you're pursuing in life, these are the things that will make us far more better people, and out of better people come good leaders. And leadership is something that all of us must punt all the time, wherever you are, in a church meeting, in whatever a community meeting, we must try and raise leaders out of there so that they stand out there.
So, President, when you speak to young leaders, young athletes, maybe even your own children, how do you recommend they should use social media? And which social media platforms do you recommend they should use, and possibly how?
Look, I think there's quite a number of things now, and they're all being abused. You go onto Facebook, and somebody posts things that you don't want to be involved in. LinkedIn or LinkedIn, at least there you control it because you know the people that you want to talk to. You can congratulate them here, or you can exchange messages there, and so on. Twitter, people go into Twitter, and even there you can see the abuse. If an article comes up, and afterwards the comments that come, it's total abuse and so on. So it's very difficult to recommend to them, but one can say that go for the medium where you are most comfortable. Because if you go to something that is not well controlled, I do know that all these platforms, they try to control the messages on them, but it's very difficult. Because if somebody wants to post something there, post an ugly picture, what can you do? It's there. I mean, you can see now with what happened to our deputy president. Those kind of things, it's just ugly things that come out. My advice to my own children, and they are very, very cute when it comes to these things. I mean, they teach me. But then they will say, Dad, look at our former minister, Mr. Mbalula. Hey, look at Mr. Mbalula. I said, no. That's not me. Because if somebody posts something bad about me, it's going to put me off a little bit. As a leader, you always want to be focused and don't want to be taken sidelines by some of these things that come on.
Now, President, you've been a mentor to many young leaders, many future leaders. Can you maybe share a success story or two with us where you mentored somebody and that person really took your advice to heart and has realized significant success?
Well, I can take you through quite a number of them, but I think the one that will stick in the minds of listeners here will be the story of Luvo Manyongo. Luvo, when I met him the first time, I knew that he is a star athlete. When he disappeared from the radar, I knew that there's a diamond in the sand or in the dust that we must go and pick up and bring to the fore. And when I went down to the Western Cape to look for him, I found him. And I took him to a stadium close by where he lives in Paarl. And we sat there. There's nobody in the stadium, just the two of us sitting there. And I sat down with him. I said, you know what? Sometimes God gives you a talent. And you have to use the talent. You're talented, you're a good athlete in long jump. Make the best use of it. He listened and he listened and he said, yeah, but you know, difficult in the family. I said, no, you must rise above that. I said, I grew up in a shack. And there were people coming in and out buying liquor from the shebeen that my mother was with. Huh? But out of that I said, no. I can't remain here, I must go up. So you can't sit here and worry about my parents and so on. No, just rise. And I said to him, what if I take you to Turkey's, University of Pretoria? No, you know, I'd like to leave this place because it's just dragging me that I'd just been nabbed for using substance that he must not use. And he came here. He tried. It was not difficult. It was not easy because he must now get those substances out of his system. And every time he's on the right track, something wants to put him off. But he listened. He listened. And he said, no, I'm not going to let you down. And if he let me down, he comes and he cries and he says, see, I've let you down. I said, okay, hang in there. And look at him now. World champion in long jump. Silver medal at the Olympics. And for me, that just goes to show how leaders must be able to look into their communities and identify the potential leaders. That very same young man went back to his village, on the other side of Queenstown, and he invited me and he said, come, I'm going to have a celebration with my community here. Although I didn't grow up here, I'm now staying in the Western Cape, but this is our roots here. And he had a massive party for them. And he said, I must come. I drove and drove. At one point I said to my wife, no, I don't think we're going to the right place. This place is far. But we got there and there the community was. During Easter, he went back and he went to go and coach there. I saw pictures where he's doing the lanes himself and so on. There is a rescued soul. He can become a leader in his own right. So I know that if you think about some of the young guys, the young learners in those years, right? Some of them are magistrates, some of them became ministers. The leader of the Methodist Church now, Archbishop Siwa, I taught him. And you know, every time I meet him, he'll say that, there goes, I listened to that man in the classroom. And he encouraged me and he inspired me. Look at me now. He is the Archbishop of the Methodist Church. So they if I had written them down, I would give you a long list of people youngsters that I've been in contact with. There's a youngster now, he wants to make his line up in cricket. So his mother phoned and I said, no, you know, don't talk on behalf of the son. Let him phone me. Let me interact with him. And I said to him, Merrill, what do you want? Now, you know, I want to play cricket at school, but I don't even have this. So I went to Cricket South Africa. Get him all the kit, the pads, December, now June holiday, he was playing down at the coast in Durban. And now he says to me, you know what, our school hasn't got enough equipment in cricket. Can you help me? Because I've now organized a couple of it. You see that I influenced him, inspired him, and now he's inspiring all the others in the school. That is our role as leaders, to be able to be inspirational to those coming up, so that, you know, and as I said earlier on, for each leader there must be about 10 that you mentor. Let's go out there and do our work, mentor people. This youngster who's running my program in East London, he was here at the Technicon. He didn't finish. Then he called me because I met him once. Then he called me and he says, you know, I'm in East London now. I said, you've got a talent in technology. You must see the program that is designing for the lower grades. So I got some computers and I put it into schools and I said, now you go and teach. And you design the programs. You teach them A, B, C, and D, of course. And today, it looks at me and he says, you know, I don't know what I would have done when I came back to East London because his parents could not afford the bursary.
So, President, when you go into a community, how do you go about finding talent? How do you go about identifying those future champions?
You know, they normally stand out. If you go to the programs I run, I can see when they play table tennis, the one who helps the other one who's battling. You know, if you can get that out of a lower grade, at the classes, lower grade classes in a school, that one stands up or stands out, then you know that there's something there. And you point it out to the teachers and you say that, what's that little boy or girl? There's talent there. And they'll come back to you and they say, even in the work, academic work or his academic work, there is something. In a community, easy. You go out there and you can see the one who stands up and in a debates in such a way that you can see that this one is putting solid stuff on the table. Not just making a noise and jumping up and down, but reasoning, and coming out very clear in the way they are putting their facts on the table, or for the rest to do. And also to see that this person is a good listener, because when the other person talks, it does not interrupt. No, carry on and do what is good. So I'm convinced that wherever we are, we must have this eye for talent, this eye for leadership, and embrace them and take them through life and let them become the leaders that we want to see.
So, President, when you speak to these young leaders, who are the role models that you suggest they should learn from, maybe study?
You know, in life, with all the role models that we have around us, you should pick up the one or two and read a lot about that person. So if you know that there was a role model called Oliver Tambo, read about Oliver Tambo. Who was Luthuli? Why is this Luthuli so important? Who was Gandhi? Who was Mother Teresa? You must say to the youngsters, those are the people. But go also into your community. It may just be that nurse is such an inspiration. I could not believe my eyes when I was reading an article about a doctor in maths and science teaching at an ordinary secondary school in the Transkei, in the rural area. And when they approached and said, yeah, but you know, you can earn thousands with the qualifications that you've got a PhD in maths and science. And she said, I must build here. I must build here. And that to me is the essence of people meeting youngsters and seeing the talent and taking them up. Because that is what we need to do. We need to go out. So teach them. Go and read about so-and-so. Go and read about, who is this Bishop Tutu? Who is this Dalai Lama? Who is all these people? Because you quote from them. Quote from them. And you say, who was this Kennedy? Who was this Churchill? Who was this a leader in Africa? Who was Kaunda? Who is Kaunda? Who Samuel Nujoma? Who are these people that they became such well-known leaders. And in the process of reading, you pick up some of the essence of what made them good leaders.
So, President, how can people connect with you? Where should they follow you?
Look, as I said, I'm not huge in social media, but they can follow me on LinkedIn. Then they must I prefer that they email me and we follow each other. Because once you email me or you leave a message on my cell phone, I come across people and I say, I never thought you were going to answer. But before I start doing all my work, I go through and I say, I must answer this one. Even if the remotest area, I will give you an answer. So if they know my cell phone number and they know my email address, rest assured, you'll get a response from me. I will definitely come back to you. I've done it for years. Make sure that people feel that you care by responding to them. Some of these parents, like this Meryl. So when I said to she works with my wife, so I gave her the full kit, and her mother could not stop crying. She thought she's just taking a chance. This Gideon Sam is there. He's the president of SASCOC. How do you reach a man so high? And I keep on saying to them, no. We are on the ground with you. Take this kit, give to Meryl, and let's see that Meryl. And I said to Meryl, take a video of yourself batting. It's a left-hand batsman. And I showed that to Cricket South Africa, and they said, Gideon, there's talent. Let's watch this boy. So we're working now to take him to Turkey's, to that high-performance center for cricket there. Because, you see, if you can inspire 10 in your lifetime, how much more can you do? We are also given that space to be able to do that little bit that we believe we can do. So let's do it whilst we're alive. We can be busy, but find the time to go out there. My own 3 kids, they go around and they boast to their friends and they say, that one is a good listener. He guides us. You can go to him for advice. He'll give you a good advice. So then you start it at home and you'll be able to do it for other children too.
Now, President, last but not least, is there one piece of advice that you would really like to give to future leaders to heed and maybe implement in their daily lives?
For me, Doc, if I can have an ear of each person who's a leader now, and that would be lead in such a way that people want to follow you. You see, we mustn't force followers. People must just say that, look, I want to be that fellow. I want to be that woman. And I want to be that man. In other words, conduct yourself in such a way that they look up to you and they feel that that is the kind of person. I told you earlier on, I sat in a class in Lovedale at the college there, and I looked at this man in front of me, white man, me being black, him being white. But the way he presented himself at lectures, I said to myself, that's what I want to be. That's what I want to be. So it is in the way that you conduct yourself. Earlier on I spoke about this rugby player, teacher in our primary school, the way he played, the way he would tackle a person, then pick him out. Sportsmanship at that level. And I said to him, that's what I would like to be one day. A good sportsman, respected, but also respecting others. Because Mr. Erasmus was that kind of person. Person that you could look up to and so on. And so throughout your life, you come. Even my first principal, Mr. Maposa, Bibi Maposa. If I did not go to that school, I could have missed the road. But you could pull him through a needle. Stand there, command respect from teachers as well as from the pupils down there. At assembly, he knows what he's doing. Clear thinker, clear speaker. And I said to myself, you know what, if I become a principal one day, that's, in other words, leaders set themselves up in such a way that those looking at them must say, that's what I want to be. And you know, what we see around us now has become a little bit of a problem now. Because you look at it and you say, I'm not so sure what the young people are learning out of this whole thing now. And we need to arrest that so that we bring it back to normality. No, things must be done like this.
Mr. President, thank you so much.
It was a real pleasure, you know.
Thank you for sharing your insights and your inspiration. And thank you for leading from the heart.
Yes,
I think
where else? Because, you know, this thing can't be false. It must be something that's with you. It sits with you. You stand in front of people and you say, this is it. I stand in assembly here, General Assembly of our council meeting here, and I stand there, and what they see is what they will get. And you can go to every president and say that, you know, that president, you phone him anytime and he will come back to you. And he will give you advice. He will tell you, no, we can do it this way. No, we can't do it that way. It's critical. It's critical. And looking out there, that's what is so important now. We need leaders now. Because the problems that we've got in our country, our beloved country, are people problems. And the people, in the absence of good leaders, go all the way wrong. So we need to build that leadership that can stand up there and be able to say, here I am, I did this, but I was wrong. We can fix it, let's go this way.
so we have to build the future.
Build the future. The future is critical. You know, when you sent me this, the first thing I did, I found 2 youngsters in East London. And I said, I want you to look at this. This is what I'm going to do for somebody in Gauteng. But one of our programs in the schools that we are in must be, let's build young leaders. Let's go and sit with them in a little thing. Let's talk and see what they say. Compile it and write as you will be doing it. Write little stories about, hey, we went to that school, we spoke to Janie, and Jamie said this, about, you know, those little stuff. And let's begin to do something in, because you see that township, Mdantsane, is the second biggest in the southern hemisphere after Soweto. People are just worried about Soweto. They don't worry about Mdantsane. And I'm saying that we must put in programs into Mdantsane so that everybody, I mean, something like this, purpose of the Future Forum, what it is going to do, I must take this and say, no, I'm going to do something similar that interview young leaders, interview experienced leaders, and let's have these stories. No? One day, because there is a community radio station in Mdantsane, and they normally take some of my youngsters in the programs and say, come to our program, tell the parents and tell the other young people. I want them to talk about these kind of things also.
So we have to find the hidden champions.
Yes, we must.